and gone. And while deals can trickle in past 3 p.m., it seems as though Jake DeBrusk will remain a Boston Bruin. Another 2015 first round draft pick has been sent away for some depth on the blue line. We're going to touch on what the Bruins did and did not do before the deadline here on today's episode of Locked On Bruins. So let's get into it.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and welcome to a special live on YouTube edition of the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and this is a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B, as well as take a look around the NHL. I want to thank those of you who have been longtime listeners. Thank you so much for making this podcast a daily listen, free and available on all platforms, as well as on YouTube. So please do smash that subscribe button. Each new episode will be automatically added to your feed for you to download, listen, watch, and enjoy. If you are on Twitter, you can follow the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins. You can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. I'm a lifelong Bruins fan. Been covering this team for various outlets for 17 years. Ever since the Joe Thornton trade, that was my push into writing about this team. And here we are again, talking about trades that were and trades that did not come to fruition. Again, the deadline to submit deals to the NHL was 3 p.m. Eastern Time here on Monday, March 21st. That does not mean that there will be no more trades announced. There's always the chance that, trades continue to trickle in. But here's what we know right now. The Bruins began the day by announcing a 2-year contract extension for Jake DeBrusk. Jake DeBrusk, who had formally requested a trade, we now know back in the summer. It was made public in November. It was reiterated a couple weeks ago by his agent. And even after this extension was signed. So it's a 2-year deal with an annual cap hit of $4 million. One of the obstacles to trading DeBrusk was a qualifying offer that would be due him as a restricted free agent this offseason. That would have paid him $4.4 million. So what the Bruins did with this extension is give some term and some cost certainty to any potentially acquiring teams. It gives them the assurance that he'll be signed for 2 years and at a, somewhat of a discount over his qualifying offer. Now, that led some to believe that this was setting up a deal prior to the trade deadline. Jake DeBrusk was present at the morning skate in Montreal. He led the post skate stretch, which, if you read between the lines, it was possibly a symbolic move. Like, this could be your last skate. Here you go, take center stage. But as of right now, it appears as though DeBrusk will remain with the Boston Bruins for the balance of the regular season and into the playoffs. The Bruins have always said that they won't do anything to make the team worse, so they weren't going to take on any draft picks and remove him from the lineup, where he's been playing pretty well as of late. Full credit to Jake DeBrusk. Slow start, but since being bumped up to the first line with Brad Marchand, Patrice Bergeron, who remains injured. Jack Stanika will play up there. He has totaled 15 goals and 11 assists in 57 games this season, 26 total points. Sorry, I'm looking to Twitter just to make sure there's no other trades trickling in. Frank Saravelli saying Rickard Rakell has been traded to the Pittsburgh Penguins, which is a real kick in the ducks. Was hoping that might be one of the late deals to come in favor of the Boston Bruins. With that said, and I'm hearing Phil Kessel will not be traded as well. The Bruins really had a need on the top line, right wing. DeBrusk has been playing there, playing well, but I would have preferred a right-hand shot there. So it looks as though the Bruins standing pat with Jake DeBrusk on the top line. He made a very nice play the other night to set up a Brad Marchand goal, but there's also been times where there have been rushes where he's been the guy on the end of a nice passing play, and because he's on his off wing, he can't get the shot off as quickly as a right-hand shot could. Anyways, all that to say, Jake DeBrusk has been extended for 2 years by the Boston Bruins, but that by no means he will finish off that contract as a member of the Boston Bruins. It's very possible, if not likely, that he'll be traded in the offseason. He does have that contract in tow, so he's not necessarily playing for a contract, but if he really wants out and wants to impress potential suitors, then it's up to him to put in a strong showing down the stretch and ultimately help the Boston Bruins get to as far as they can in the postseason. So that is the biggest kind of non-move that the Bruins made. Signing DeBrusk to the 2-year extension. Again, perhaps with a view to giving fellow general managers some cost certainty and some term to acquire, but ultimately they're holding on to him, it seems. Again, deals are trickling in. Raquel going to Pittsburgh. Looks as though Max Domi could be on the move, according to Aaron Portzline in Columbus. There have been rumblings that the Bruins are interested in him. Could Domi be coming to Boston? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see here before we get into Zack Senyshyn going to Ottawa, as well as a bit more on Hampus Lindholm. A quick word about Athletic Greens. What is this stuff? With one delicious scoop of Athletic Greens, you're absorbing 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, whole food source superfoods, probiotics, and adaptogens to help you start your day right. This special blend of ingredients supports your gut health, your nervous system, your immune system, your energy, recovery, focus, and aging. Basically, all the things, right? The Athletic Greens company was created when the founder experienced a ton of gut health issues and ended up with a complicated supplement routine to recover that cost him $100 per day, which is nuts. He created Athletic Greens after experiencing how difficult it was to create an optimal nutrition routine on your own. Right now, it's time to reclaim your health and arm your immune system with convenient daily nutrition, especially heading into the flu and cold season. Just one scoop in a cup of water every day, that's it. To make it easy, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. That's athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance. I want to thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins, your first listen every day. Thank you for tuning in to this live offering of the podcast at 3:30 p.m. The Locked On Fantasy Hockey guys are going live, so you're going to want to jump there as well. We also have the Locked On Now podcast, which is a nightly offering of recaps from all our local experts, so you can subscribe to that as well. Ricard Raquel, like I mentioned, heading to the Penguins for a prospect and a second-round pick. Pierre LeBrun saying the Carolina Hurricanes made a late push for Max Domi right at the deadline. Not sure if they were able to get the deal done or not under the wire. So is Domi going to the Hurricanes? Is he coming to the Bruins? Time will tell here. Speaking of the Hurricanes, Jesperi Kotkaniemi, the offer sheet that he signed, he is re-upping with the Hurricanes, I believe, for 8 years at $4.82 million, which is pretty crazy. Anyways, the Boston Bruins. One deal that they did make today, honoring the trade request of another 2015 first-round pick. Zack Senyshyn had made it clear that he wasn't happy with his lack of role with the Boston Bruins. He's been a mainstay with the Providence Bruins. Only been offered two-way contracts, not one-way contracts. And he wanted out. He wanted a fresh start, and he's been given one. Being sent to the Ottawa Senators with a fifth-round pick in exchange for defenseman Josh Brown and a conditional 2022 seventh-round pick. Now, Brown, he's a 28-year-old, 6'5", 217-pound behemoth right-shot defenseman. He's appeared in 165 games with Ottawa and Florida, with 4 goals, 13 assists for 17 points. Averaging around 14 minutes a game this season with 6 assists in 46 games. Not being brought in for his offensive prowess, his puck-moving ability, more for that physical, hard-hitting, willing to get in the corners, willing to drop the gloves at times, presence, a depth right-hand shot that the Boston Bruins desperately needed. Chris Johnston, saying Max Domi heading to Carolina. So the Bruins, dodged that bullet one way or another, depending on how you look at it. So Josh Brown, I've been talking about on the podcast a lot. The Bruins needed some depth on the right side of the defense, a right-hand shot. You have McAvoy, Carlo, Clifton, and then after that, you were looking at the AHL for any injury replacements. And you need a good 7-8 defenseman in the playoffs because we know injuries are going to pop up. So now Brown will compete for playing time with Connor Clifton, but in light of the Hampus Lindholm trade, we know that it's possible that Bruce Cassidy could deploy Derek Forbort and Mike Riley on the bottom pair. So you have those 4 guys vying for 2 spots based on who's healthy, with the top 4 set right now of Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, Matt Grzelcyk, Brandon Carlo. Cassidy has said those pairings are kind of interchangeable depending on whether they're defending a lead, whether they're looking to tie the game situationally. That's the top 4, but it's not necessarily a 1 pairing and a 2 pairing. Those guys are interchangeable. And then, again, Forbort, Riley, Clifton, Brown as your options for the bottom 6. Now, when it comes to Hampus Lindholm, this happened on Saturday where he was acquired from the Anaheim Ducks in exchange for Urho Vakanainen, John Moore, a 2022 first-round pick, second-rounders in 2023 and 2024. He met with the media via Zoom. He is not with the team in Montreal for tonight's game. He will join them for practice, likely to make his debut on Thursday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. He said he loves playing in the playoffs. He's missed it over the last few years. Fortunate that his first couple years in the league, he was always in the thick of it with the Anaheim Ducks, long playoff runs. He can only imagine playing in the playoffs for the Boston Bruins. There's going to be a lot of to be done there, and he's ready to go into battle with everyone in the organization. And he's going to be here for quite some time. 8 years, $6.5 million cap hit. He and Charlie McAvoy are the two Bruins signed for the longest or furthest into the future. They can both become unrestricted free agents in 2030. So some stability there on the blue line. He said, Boston is a great city, great team, great organization, always have a winning mindset. They find ways to get in the mix and compete, and that's something he always wants to be a part of. It's about coming to a team that's competitive. Boston's really showing what they think of me as a player, he said. Can't thank them enough. To sign a long extension with an organization like the Bruins, that's most players' NHL dream. So that's pretty much it for the Boston Bruins prior to the trade deadline. Doesn't look as though anything is coming down the pipe. Don Sweeney is going to address the media here this afternoon. And the Bruins not getting a second line center. Erik Haula will remain at that spot. And they did not trade for a scoring right-hand winger, with Jake DeBrusk remaining in tow to fill the top line role. Would have been nice to get some more depth up front. Would have been nice to get that second line center that has been a clear need since David Krejci departed to his home nation of Czechia back in the offseason. They have settled on center by committee. Charlie Coyle had been penciled in to be the second line guy, but he has found a home on the third line, probably where he's best suited. Erik Haula has played well, kind of fallen off a little bit. But, I've said in the past that perhaps it doesn't matter who plays the second line center role with Taylor Hall and David Pastrnak on the wings. It used to be Krejci had no wings. Now we have the wings, flying with Haula down the middle. And in the end, all the Bruins were able to add, well, not all, Lindholm, a big piece, but Josh Brown, the depth piece on the right side. No additions up front for the Boston Bruins. Somewhat disappointing, to be honest. I was really hoping that they would at least get a scoring winger. With Senyshyn gone from Providence, the reinforcements that they can call up in the event of injury, Oscar Steen, Jesper Froden, perhaps Jack Stanika will stick around once Patrice Bergeron returns from injury. One positive, I think, is the fact that they were able to hold on to their top prospects in Stanika. He still counts in that role, as well as Mason Lohrei and Fabian Lysell. Perhaps they didn't want to invest in a top-line winger because Lysell might occupy that role. We'll get into what some of the other heavy hitters in the Atlantic Division were able to do, as well as take a quick look at tonight's game against the Canadiens here in a moment. But first, a quick word about BetOnline. College basketball's tournament is in full swing, and you can get the latest odds, contests, and player props from betonline.net, the number one source for all your sports betting needs and info. BetOnline remains the best spot for scores, podcasts, and news, as well as wagering information needs, not just for basketball, but also hockey, of course, baseball, boxing, UFC, and they even have some of your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today, use your mobile device to learn more about the trends in action at BetOnline, where the game starts. Built Bar is the best tasting protein bar on the market, bar none, pardon the pun. And if you have not tried their puffs, you are really missing out. They're the first ever protein-infused marshmallow. They're fluffy, marshmallowy, not just a protein bar. They're really a treat. They're covered in 100% chocolate. And pro tip, dip them in your hot chocolate and makes it even better. All their bars are low calorie, high protein, and you can replace your candy bars with this delicious and healthy alternative. Go to built.com, look at their macros, and you'll be blown away by the nutritional information. High protein, low calorie, high fiber, low carbs, low sugar. They're all about the taste. I don't know how they do it, but they make their bars delicious first, then figure out how to make it healthy. They pull it off every time based on all the ones that I have tried. Go to built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 and get 15% off your order. That's promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. Thank you so much again for making Locked On Bruins your first listen every day. Again, coming up at 3:30, Steele Roden and Flip Livingstone will be live. They are the hosts of the Locked On Fantasy Hockey Podcast, and they help you become experts of your fantasy league. Their show is also free and available wherever you get podcasts. You may notice that I'm kind of sitting back today. If you follow me on Twitter, you'll know that I am aging rapidly. My shoulder is just killing me these days. I woke up Saturday morning, really hurt. It's been going for the last 2 days. Finally got a physio appointment for anybody who's wondering. That should be rectified tomorrow. Now, the Boston Bruins, did they keep up in the Atlantic Division's arms race? Are they well equipped to get out of the first round? Yeesh, I don't know. The Maple Leafs, they acquired Mark Giordano, Colin Blackwell from the Seattle Kraken. They were also hilariously blocked from adding goaltender Hari Sateri, as he was claimed by the Arizona Coyotes. The Florida Panthers, they loaded up by acquiring Claude Giroux and Ben Sherratt. And the Tampa Bay Lightning even got some reinforcements by adding Brandon Hagel and Nick Paul. They did give up a couple first-round picks, as well as some decent prospects in Kachuk and Taylor Radish. The Chicago Blackhawks, all season long, I've been hoping, desiring, pleading for Don Sweeney to trade for Dylan Strome. Instead, Strome remains in Chicago. He'll be playing with Alex DeBrincat and Taylor Radish, who were his junior hockey line mates with the Erie Otters. And so the Bruins, at present, holding down at the very least, the first wild card spot in the Eastern Conference. As a result, they would be currently matched up with the Florida Panthers. The Panthers are they'd be matched up with the Carolina Hurricanes. Panthers first in the East right now, Carolina second. But both teams have been very good this season. Both teams have had Boston's number. And the Hurricanes, like I mentioned, just went out and added some depth up front in the form of Max Domi, a guy who was potentially on the move to Boston. But anyway you slice it, no matter who the Bruins play in the first round, whether it's Florida, Carolina, whether they move up and can play Tampa Bay. Toronto's not very likely. It's going to be a very tough out. We'll have to see how Hampus Lindholm adjusts to the Bruins lineup. We'll get our first look at him likely Thursday against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Tonight, the Bruins are in Montreal. Patrice Bergeron remains out with that arm injury. So Zack Senyshyn, he missed practice over the weekend after blocking a shot. He's healthy. He'll be back in the lineup with Marchand and DeBrusk. And then we'll kind of have the same defensive pairings that we've had in recent games. Thursday is when we'll get a look at some new Bruins in Lindholm, probably Josh Brown as well. And this is it. I said on Twitter it would be hilarious, ironically hilarious, if all the Bruins did was sign DeBrusk to an extension and not end up trading him. Ryan Rishaug, who is plugged in with TSN in Edmonton, knows DeBrusk's dad as well as his agent, saying no DeBrusk move is coming. So it looks like the Bruins are done here. Hampus Lindholm in, Josh Brown in, Zack Senyshyn out, and these are the Boston Bruins that will compete for the 2022 Stanley Cup. Whether you think they are an easy out in the first round or have the ability to surprise some people, who knows? And we're going to have to wait and see what the team looks like with Lindholm in the mix and how the defensive pairings shake out. But as of right now, we have an idea of what the forward lines are going to be, and they've been pretty effective in recent games, to be honest. In 2022, as a reminder, just to end here, the Bruins have been one of the top teams in the NHL. Since January 1st, the Bruins have a record of 24-9-3, 51 points, second only to the Avalanche. And when it comes to point percentage, 708, which is third behind Colorado and Florida. So we'll end on that encouraging note here. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Thanks for checking out the live episode, those of you who are watching on YouTube. Reminder to subscribe to Locked On NHL Bruins on your favorite podcast app, as well as on YouTube. Follow Locked NHL Bruins on Twitter, as well as ENC McLaren. And we'll be back with a recap of tonight's game against Montreal and some more fallout from the trades that were made and were not made by General Manager Don Sweeney, including what we learned from what he says here coming up in a moment on the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day. Take care, friends.